особый жанр или побочный продукт гейм-индустрии. Кто-то относится к ним скептически, другие ждут их победы над мейнстримом. Я готов доказать, что инди — это целый мир, и даже больше. Гетеборг, Швеция. В этом скандинавском городе находится студия Zoink Games, которая на прошедшей в этом году E3 с ошеломляющим успехом представила очаровательную игру Fe. Право быть издателем скандинавского чуда взяла на себя великая и ужасная EA. В этом выпуске IndieTrip гуманоид осветит историю этого исключительного сотрудничества.
So yeah, my name is Hugo Bille, and I'm one of the creative directors on the Fe project.
And my name is Andreas Beyer, and I do creative directing together with Hugo, and also I do the art direction of Fe.
I know there's been a lot of debate about how to pronounce the title, and I mean it's a Swedish word. It means fairy, so we like to pronounce it the way we would normally do in Swedish speech, which is Fe. But anyway, it's fine. It sort of mirrors the game in that way, because it's a game that leaves a lot up to the player's interpretation, and it's a lot of the story is up to you to decipher and then figure out what it actually means. So we figured a title that you have to figure out how to pronounce it's kind of fitting.
Well, Zoink as a company has been around for quite some time, and it's Zoink, the company is Klaus Lyngeled's company and we have done different game projects within this company for a while, me and Hugo together, and like Stick It to the Man, I don't know if you've played that, and Zombie Vikings we did some time ago, and we felt like doing something quite differently, more poetic, more not with so much words, a little less voice acting, so we came up with Fe and tried to do something completely, or at least quite different from what we have done before.
So it's a game that's been bouncing around at Zoink for a very long time. I mean, actually longer than I've been here, and it's been going through very different forms. We've just been experimenting a lot with different kinds of forest exploration adventures, and finally, after Zombie Vikings, we felt that we had a prototype that was interesting enough that we could go ahead and try to make a whole game based on that prototype, which was actually hidden inside Zombie Vikings. It was a very special situation for us. I mean, we've known from early on in the Fe process that we wanted a publisher on this one. We self-published Zombie Vikings, which was really interesting, and it
was very difficult.
It was very difficult.
And before that, we worked with a smaller publisher. So we said that if we're going to do another project, we want to work with a publisher, but we want to work with a huge publisher. So,
which is, you know, a tall ask, but we went out and asked the bigger publishers, and quite quickly, actually, we got a response from EA. And they wanted us to go up to Stockholm, where the vice president of EA is working, Patrick Söderlund. So he wanted to meet us and see the game, and that was definitely one of the best business meetings we've been in, because it all went insanely fast from there, and Patrick could instantly, basically in that meeting right then and there, make the decision that yeah, we're doing this, and we're putting it on the EA Originals platform. I mean, I know that there was competition from other games that they were looking at for the EA Originals sort of flagship thingy. Don't know what they were, or I don't know. We were really spoiled in a way, because the experience we had was that it's really easy to get a publishing deal with EA. You just send them a trailer and
yeah.
They throw money.
We know that isn't really the case. We were lucky. I would say we were extremely lucky. Yeah. And I mean, it has been great to be a part of EA, and the journey this far has been amazingly good, actually. So all good. Well, we have more time to put into the game, more money. We have tremendous PR machine to help us out with PR and things like that.
We know that they're going to help us make the game, and we know that they're going to help us market the game, which is a huge thing for us, because we've never been able, I mean, when we've made games before, we've never been sure if there is going to be an audience, if we're going to be able to reach anyone, and with EA we can sort of guarantee that, which is it hasn't really sunk in yet how awesome that is. But it's also that they have a lot of experience that we don't. I mean, they've been publishing games for, I mean, the people that we're working with in EA have personally been working on games for 30 and 40 years. And they've done so much stuff, and they've seen so many projects, and they're a great bunch of people to ask for help and advice. So that's really a benefit as well. Right. So in Fe, you wake up in this forest, and you have no idea what it is, or what you are, where you came from, or how anything works in the forest. And it's a strange place, full of strange animals that have these weird behaviors and exist in kind of an ecosystem that you need to figure out how they relate to one another, and how they can help you to get to new parts of the forest. So it's really a pretty classical platform adventure in a sense, kind of like, you know, the classic Super Marios and Zeldas and Metroids of gaming history. But at the same time, it's a much more poetic and sort of soft-spoken game, where we don't like to tell players too much. We like to let them form their own impressions, not only of like the story, but how the game works. It's not very tutorial heavy, so it's the kind of game where we throw you into a situation, and you get to figure out, how can I calm this angry bear down? Can I give him food? Okay, he doesn't want food because maybe I'm moving too fast, or maybe I'm being too loud. So you really have to sort of feel your way towards forming a relationship with these creatures. So it's kind of a social game in a way, but you're being social with wild animals and hope they don't try to eat you, while exploring this incredible place and finding out who you are as well. I mean, that's sort of where the story is headed. And we naturally don't want to talk too much about that.
You can, for instance, you can sing with all the animals. You can talk to all the animals with a quite intuitive system for talking to them. So you can, as Hugo said, you might don't want to go up to an angry bear and start yelling at it. You might want to be quite soft-spoken and try to sort of be a bit diplomatic in that situation, for instance. There are things like that. We're working really hard to get the movement right, as Hugo said as well, with being inspired by old platformers. We really want the controls to feel good. And you can run around, you can climb all the trees, you can jump off the treetops and just fly away. And we're working really hard to get a fluent, smooth motion through this forest. So,
but you're right that sort of the exploration is what drives most of the game situations, and we think that most of the best experiences you're going to have with the game are the moments when you realize how something works. Definitely. I mean, the learning curve is kind of what the game is about in a way. Some things are really easy to figure out. I mean, you run around, you can jump and you can climb trees and you can glide through the air, and those things you're probably going to get pretty good at that in the first hour of gameplay. But where it really starts to get difficult is with the animals and figuring out how to interact with those. Some of them are really easy. You just walk up to like the smallest birds, for instance, and say hello, and they will start circling around you like crazy and want to sing with you. And then they will follow you around, and you can use them to solve problems. And then there's stuff like we've been working with a giant bear kind of creature that is essentially impossible to befriend. But if you do, if you figure out how to do that, he's going to follow you around and help you deal with, well,
he's a good ally to have, basically. Yeah, he's a strong character. I think me and Hugo talked a lot about this, and I mean, growing up here in Sweden is, I mean, at least back when we were kids, where we were quite free to explore forests and have that as a playground, more or less.
We've both been really inspired by that feeling of entering a big and unexplored forest and just imagining all the possibilities that are in there, all the places that you could go to and all the animals you could meet. And feeling of being really small and unprotected and not having anyone there watching over you and telling you what to do.
Absolutely, and another thing that I quite strongly remember from being a kid and having those places is that eventually you learn how they look, and you find your way in them. So it starts out as something unexplored and secretive, but after a while it's another home, really. So
you start to find all these shortcuts.
Yeah, and that's really interesting. So we try to sort of get that into the game as well. To have the player get that feeling. First you're lost, but then eventually you get to know the forest and see it as a second home, sort of.
We have actually, it's my brother. Joel Bille. He's been doing the music for most of the games that we've been doing at Zoink for the past few years. And before that, I worked on a bunch of other indie games that he also did the music for. This is the first time he does also all the sound design. So he's our musician and our sound guy for this for the game. So he also wrote the music for Zombie Vikings and Stick to the Man, for example. So he's great with these weird soundtracks where he's adapted to different styles. But the thing is that the kind of music he's doing in Fe is actually more like his natural style, what he would do if he just sat at home and made music for himself. This kind of beautiful ambient, but at the same time very melodic music. And he's great at atmosphere and creating the atmosphere that we want for the game. So he's a perfect fit.
Actually, right behind you, you're situated in a chair, and behind that wall, Joel sits in his studio at our office. So he's connected. Yeah, so he's connected to the project as well, or he's very into the project. And is able to play the game, is able to put his music right into the game and try it out. And just before the interview here, me and Joel sat and tried to do owl sounds. So I've been in his microphone in there for an hour or two. So it's actually right here working with us. So it's very much part of the project.
Nah, we weren't excited.
We were quite nervous. Quite nervous. And I mean, the most pressure was on Klaus, the CEO of the company, who was the one who presented the game. Of course, he was extremely nervous, I can tell you that. But it went very well. Me and Hugo sat in the audience. We were there for a few days before because there was a lot of rehearsals and stuff like that. But when we sat in the audience and they presented like Battlefield and, you know, Titanfall, you know, Effect. All those games with really loud sound effects and everything, and I just thought, oh no, Fe is gonna bomb so hard. But actually, people cheered and clapped their hands and thought it was quite exciting. So it was good. It was a good feeling. Yeah.
I mean, there's a certain subset of players that really appreciated Fe, I think, as the best thing on EA's press conference.
Yeah,
just because it was so
stood
low
out.
key. And so,
it stood out in a way in all the mayhem that were around there. So no, it was good. It was really good, exciting.
So you were actually satisfied with the response and the reception.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I mean, people were so nice to us, and everybody was nice. I think it went really well.
Yeah, well, I think the main reason is that you are pretty likable people. So.
Thank you.
In a good way. Yeah, in a manly way. Like, manly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, manly way. Okay, Andreas.
I can fake it, sort of.
Yeah. Okay, so any update on the release date?
No.
Short and concise. No, but what we're saying is some time around next year. but we really want to make this a good game. So we don't want to push it out before it's complete. I mean, that would be a shame. So
what we can say for sure is that it's not coming out this year.
We're
using Unity all the way. We haven't been using anything other than Unity since, well, I don't know, since Unity came into its own as an engine, I suppose. The past 6 years, we've been a complete and total Unity studio, which is, it's always worked great for us, and it's working better and better.
Yeah.
Top 3 games for each year.
Sorry, top 3 games.
Yeah, top 3 games for each one of you.
Oh, but I have such a good top 4.
Okay, you can take 4 and I take 2.
My top 4 would be Shadow of the Colossus, Super Metroid, and when I think about it, those two are really 2 of my biggest influences for Fe as well. And then Super Mario Galaxy and Portal, which we are less influenced by.
Yeah, Portal's good.
The first one, definitely. Second, a bit too bloated. Does its own thing, it does it well, but Portal 1 is the masterpiece.
Top 3. The thing is, when I think about games that I really liked, I tend to think about really old games that I liked, and sort of being grumpy because they don't do games like that anymore. That's my thing. But I do like Portal, though, which is also an old game by now. But one game that I always come back to is XCOM UFO, a really old strategy game that I think is just that's a masterpiece. I really enjoy the classic Sierra games, the adventure games from Sierra, and the games from like Day of the Tentacle. That's not Sierra, but that sort of adventure games. Something more. I don't know. Another World. That's a good game. That's a huge inspiration for this game for me.
Because of the wordless storytelling.
Yeah, the wordless storytelling.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.